G'day, this is Mr. Thompson, and as promised, I'm making a video to show you how to create this gearbox. Of course, the gears and the axles and the motor we already have in the storeroom. Yeah, so we want to 3D print the chassis, but we want a model that shows all of the parts together like this. All right, so that's what we're going to try to build, and hopefully our finished version will look something like that. So I'm just going to close that one, and let's start from the beginning. So I guess the first thing you're going to need to do is create a new project in Fusion. So you need to open your data panel. So these 9 squares here, if you click on those, that'll open the data panel. And if you're already in a project, so you're in a project like this maybe, you can click on the home to go back to the home page. So you should be able to find this new project option. So click on new project, and we'll call this Gearbox tutorial, like so. Enter, and it'll whiz for a little while. When it stops whizzing, we can double click on it, like so, and we can open it. All right, this is by default, it's already opened an untitled document or an untitled design. So I'm going to save that into my folder. So save. Okay, just make sure it's in the right location. So that's good. It's in the right. It's in the right project folder, and we'll call it Gearbox. Why not? Save. All right. Now, I'm not going to build the motor and the crown gear from scratch. I'm going to use existing files for those. We can build our pinion and our compound gears from scratch. That's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is I've actually downloaded some of these files. I created the crown gear myself, and the hobby motor I downloaded from grabcad. And again, in the description, I will leave information about where to get them. So I'll just grab those, and I'll drag them on top of, let's actually, can I put them just in here like that? No, I can't. Okay, I've got to click on upload. Okay, and then I can do that. So if I go to my files and drop them on top of where it says drag and drop, there they are. Upload. Okay, so that's the part that I'm making. That's the design that I'm making, and I'm going to use the crown gear, the configurable crown gear, and the hobby motor as components inside my design. Okay, now when you are creating something in Fusion, a design in Fusion, the first thing you should do is create a component. Now, we already have a component, and that's the top level component there, Gearbox version 1. But I'm going to want some other components as well. So I'm going to, rather than just create sketches and bodies in the top level, I want to create a new component for my chassis. So I'm going to click on new component. I'm going to call it a chassis. Like that. Okay, and see, it's got a component which is underneath the top level component there. Okay, now the chassis is going to be sort of like the first or the main component that all the other components are going to attach to. So I'm going to ground that component, and that just means that component now is fixed in space, and you can see the little pin icon. So that chassis is fixed, it can't move. All the other components can move around the chassis. Okay, I'm going to start by drawing a sketch. I'm going to draw the side wall that the axles go through. So I'm going to, by clicking on Create Sketch, I'm going to choose this plane here. That's the one that's going to have the side wall on it. And I'm going to start by drawing a sketch. Now, I want to put the axle holes in. But I've got to know how to space them. So to do that, I'm going to use some construction lines. I'm going to create a circle. So I can click on circle here, or a C for circle, and I can put this any old place I like that. And now what diameter? The teeth, the compound gears that I'm using have 50 teeth, and the modulus is 0.5. So the 0.5 is the ratio between the number of teeth and the pitch diameter. So if I've got 50 teeth and 0.5 modulus, that means my pitch diameter will be 25, that's 0.5 times 50, 25 millimeters. So that is the pitch diameter of the large wheel on my compound gear. Now that needs to mesh with another gear. It needs to mesh with the small gear on another compound gear. And the small gear has got 10 teeth and it's still 0.5 modular. So 0.5 modulus. So all of the gears that we're using have 0.5 modulus. So it's got 10 teeth, so it's going to have a pitch diameter of 5 millimeters. So I'm going to type 5 as my radius. And you know what? I'm going to zoom in and just grab that and move that out a little bit, just so that it's a little bit easier to read. Okay, now, so that pitch diameter and that pitch diameter, they need to be touching. So I can come up here and I can use a constraint. I'm going to use a tangent constraint. So if I click here and click here and here, that now connects those two circles. Now, I'm going to draw, well, let's draw my the actual rectangle. So I'll click on the rectangle tool, and this will be the outline of the side of my box. So let's just draw a rectangle like that for now. Now you notice all these lines that I've drawn so far, they're blue, and blue means that they're not fully constrained yet. So we're going to go about doing that. We're going to position these exactly where we want them. So let's think about some constraints. I want this axle hole and this axle hole to be exactly horizontally aligned. So I'm going to, now they look like they are already, but I haven't actually constrained them that way. You might see if I grab this one, I can move that, and it'll allow me to move it anywhere on the tangent of that one there, because that's the only constraint I put in. So let's put a horizontal constraint between that circle, that center, and that center. So if I come up here, let's see if I click on that one, and oh, let me do that. Hang on, let me just escape or click somewhere else. Click on that constraint there, and I'm going to click there in the center there and on the center of that, and now it's made them constrained horizontally. They're both at the same height. Now escape, because I've finished with that function, and I can still move that around, so I need to fix that in space somehow. So I'm going to use a dimension. Click on dimension here, and I'm going to escape. I'm going to click on dimension, and I'm going to click on that center there and that origin there. So I want that distance there. What do I reckon? Let's try a few things. What if I do 18? 18 looks pretty good. Might even go a bit smaller than that. What if I go 15? Because I don't want to use more plastic in my 3D print than necessary. So let's make it nice and compact. Okay, I'm going to click from that origin there. See, I've still got my dimension active. You can see if I've ever got a tool active, I can escape to go back to just my select tool, and when I click on the tool, you can see when it's active by the cursor. Okay, so from the origin there to the center of that point there, this time I'll come down here and I'll do a horizontal constraint or a horizontal dimension. And what if I make that 15 as well? That looks pretty reasonable. Can you see now these have gone black? That's because they're fully constrained. Now these lines over here, they're not fully constrained, but if I put some dimensions in, and I say that there at the moment, that's 70, I'm thinking, what if I try, I don't know, 40? How does that look? Yeah, I can go even smaller than that, I think. Double click there, 35. Yeah, that'll do, Again, I don't want to use more plastic than I have to in my 3D printer. Now I'm going to click on that line there and come out here, and I'm going to constrain that as well, or dimension that. I'm going to make that, what if I try 30? Yeah, I can go less than it actually. I can go 25. Good, okay. Now, because this side here it can actually be smaller than that gear. It doesn't matter if the gear sticks out the top a little bit. All right, escape. Now, another thing I'm going to do is these lines here, those two circles, those circles are really only construction lines. I'm not actually going to make anything from that circle, but I used the circle to help me do construction. So I'm actually going to click on that circle there, hold down Control and click on that circle, so they're both selected. And I can come over here and I can turn them into construction lines by clicking there, or I can use X on my keyboard. And now you can see they're dotted, so they're construction lines. Because I'm not actually going to make them into anything, I just use those lines to position my axle holes. All right, so now I know where my axle holes need to go now. They need to go there and there. Now, what I'm going to do though is, in fact, I could do this. I could just go circle and create my axle hole. Now, what's the diameter of my axle hole? My axles are 2 millimeters, but I need a little bit more than 2 millimeters because I want my axles to spin freely. And also, when I 3D print, holes usually end up a little bit smaller than you define them to be because I guess the plastic sort of squishes out a little bit when it's printing. So the actual size of the axle holes is going to be a little bit of trial and error. I think it's going to be about 2.3 millimeters that I need, but I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to escape there. I'm going to, in fact, what I could do, let me just complete that sentence I was talking about. I could put in here 2.3, yeah, and then put another one here that's 2.3. And if I had some other holes, I could also make them 2.3. And then I could do a print, and if I find that that was not correct and I needed 2.2, then I'd have to come in here and go and change them all to 2.2. A better option is if I create a parameter. So if I go modify, change parameters, and I create here a user parameter by clicking on plus there, let's call this axle hole diameter, and I'm going to make that 2.3. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go okay there. I'm going to make all of my axle holes equal to that parameter, and by doing that, it means if I change that parameter once, then all of my axle holes will change automatically, which would be really good. So anything that you think you might have to change, and you've got multiple instances of that measurement, parameter is not a bad idea. So I'm going to double click again on that. Well, actually, I'm not going to double click. I'm going to click on dimension, and actually let me just do that again. Click on dimension, then click on the circle, and click out here. Hang on a minute, I've got to delete the old dimension. Delete the old dimension. Okay, now put a new dimension in like that. Okay, and instead of 2.3, I'm going to type axle, start typing axle hole diameter. There it is, I can see it. Click there once, hit enter, and there we go. So that's that axle hole now is, that FX means it's calculated from the parameter. All right, I'm going to do another circle. So C for circle. I want another circle here, and this one here, AX. Yep, there we go. Axle hole diameter, and click enter like that. And again, if I zoom right in, grab that dimension and just move it somewhere so it's not so crowded in there. Okay. As I'm zooming, I'm using my mouse wheel, and so if you've got a laptop, you can pinch on your laptop on your trackpad, but it's much easier to use Fusion with a mouse with a wheel. So by moving my cursor over to here and zooming in or out, and moving it over here and zooming in or out, you can see I can easily move and zoom using the mouse wheel. So if you haven't got one, get yourself a mouse with a wheel. All right, you can also use this tool here. You can use pan like that, and you can use this tool here. So, or you can pinch on your laptop. So you can do it with a laptop, just easy with a mouse. All right, escape to get back to our normal mode. Okay, that took a while, didn't it? Let's finish that sketch. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it. So at the moment, if I come up to my view cube and I view around, I can see that that's just a two-dimensional sketch. I need to make that three-dimensional, so I'm going to use the extrude function, or just hit E on my keyboard. E, and it's going to say, what profiles do I want to extrude? Well, that profile there. I could actually select those, but I don't want to because I want to leave them as holes. So let me just get rid of all that selection. Select that. That's all I want to do, okay? And this arrow here, I can drag that arrow, and you can see I can now turn that 2D sketch into a 3D shape. Okay, I want it to be 3 millimeters, so I could drag it to 3 millimeters, or better still, I could just type 3 millimeters into there, press enter, and there we go. That's created a 2D or a 3D body. And if I come up here under chassis, and I open up the twisty there under bodies, that's the body that I just created. Okay, so my component is the chassis, and my chassis has one body. Okay, what I want to do now is I want to create another identical body over this side. So I'm going to use this move copy command, or M on the keyboard, and you've got to be careful what you're copying. I don't want to copy the whole component. I don't want another chassis, but I want another body inside my chassis. So I'm going to copy a body. I'm going to make a copy rather than a move. If I didn't do that, it would just move it, but I want to create a copy. And there's different types of moves here. We're just going to use a translate move, and I'm going to grab that arrow there, and I'm going to move it. Now I want it 77 millimeters. And the reason I want 77 is from that edge to that edge, if that's 77, then to that edge is 80, and I've got a 100 millimeter long axle. So I want 10 millimeters sticking out this side and 10 millimeters sticking out that side. So I'm going to go 77. All right, hit enter there, or OK. And now you can see I've got two bodies. That's one body, that's another body. In a minute, we'll join those bodies to make them one body again. In fact, let's do that now. So I'm going to grab my cube here, my view cube. I'm going to just drag it round so I can see the bottom of those bodies. And I'm going to start a sketch. And I'm going to put a sketch on the bottom of one of those bodies. Okay, on that plane actually. So now I'm going to choose rectangle, or R on the keyboard, and I'm going to draw a rectangle from that corner there to that corner there, like that. And you know what, I could finish the sketch, but I'm just going to use E for extrude, and that will automatically finish the sketch and start the extrude. Okay, so let's just drag a bit so I can see what's going on. Okay, so this is looking up from the bottom. So what do I want to extrude? I want to extrude that profile there. And look at this. It's actually, for some reason, I'm not sure why, it's divided that into two sections. So I want to extrude that, but I also want to extrude that. So I'm going to select that as well. So with both of those selected, both of those profiles selected, I'm going to drag that down by, oh yeah, that's right, that direction. Again, by 3 millimeters, because 3 millimeters is a pretty good width for a small 3D printed component. Okay, all right, and look at that. Now my bodies have been joined together. Actually, let me just go back into that extrude. This is our timeline down here, so you can see all the steps that I've taken. So let's double click on that last step that I took, that extrude, and I can go back into here just to make sure I did it correctly. I did. So it was an extrude. And there's different extrudes. You can join things with an extrude, or you can cut holes with an extrude, or you can do intersections, or you can create new bodies. I don't want to create a new body, so join was the right thing. When you do that extrude, make sure it's a join. Okay, so in that, and because it's a join, it joined all those bodies together into one body. All right, so there we go. Okay, about time to save, I think. Now, you know what? That's my start. That's the start of the chassis. So you can put a description on each save that you do, because you can actually go back. Fusion does version control automatically for you. So start of chassis. So if I click over here, once that's done, once it stops whizzing, if I click on V1 here, it will show me. I clicked too early. There we go. See, it gives me, that's when I first created the item. There was nothing. This is this point here. So I can actually go back to any save point I want. So I can actually put little descriptions on my save points, which is pretty handy. All right, let's create an axle. So I'm going to come back up here, up to Gearbox, up to my top level, because I want to create, what I can do is if I create an axle component, I could actually create an axle underneath the chassis component. I could nest it. And you know what? You might argue that that's a good idea. This is a fairly simple mechanism. So I'm going to keep all of my components, all of my major components at the top level. So, so that's why I selected, or I activated. You see I can activate a component by clicking in that circle next to it. If I activate the top level component, then when I create a new component, it'll put the component here underneath Gearbox 2 at the same level as the chassis, not nested inside the chassis. So I'm going to create a new component here, and I'm going to call it an axle. I want two axles, but let's start with one, and then I can copy it to make another one. All right, so there's my axle component. It started, you can see it's automatically been activated, and it's sitting underneath it's the same level side by side with chassis, not underneath chassis. All right, I'm going to drag around to the side here, and I'm going to start my axle from here. So I'm going to start by drawing a sketch like that, and I'm going to, let's see, create a circle here. Now this circle here actually does need to be 2 millimeters because my axle is 2 millimeters diameter. And you can see it's just smaller than my hole, which is good. That's what I want. Okay, I'm going to extrude that. So E for extrude, click on that circle. Let's just zoom out a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Now, I want my extrusion to be 2 sides because I want to go back this way by, let's see, by 10 millimeters. See that 10 there? And I want to come out this way by 90 millimeters because my axles are 100 millimeters long. And I want 10 millimeters out that side and 10 millimeters out that side. Okay, and my operation type is a new body. That's good because I want to put in a body under my component. Okay, so there's my axle now, and my axle now has a body. Okay, I could name that axle if I wanted to. I think just naming the components is going to be enough at this stage. All right, now I want to copy that. Now, when I copy it, I can't copy it if it's activated. So I need to come back up to the top level. Now I can copy that component. So I'm going to click on this move copy command, or I could use M. And let's see, I'm going to go, I'm going to copy, last time I did a copy, I copied bodies. This time I want to copy components. I want to take that whole axle component and make another component. So I'm going to select that one there, and I'm going to create a copy, and I'm going to do a point-to-point move. Or actually, I have to create, once I've clicked on point-to-point, I've got to go create copy again. So point-to-point means I've got to take an origin point. So let's click select and select the center of that point there. And my target point, I want it to be there. So that's created a copy, and it's copied it there. Now, it's not quite right, is it? It's sort of been translated back. So I'm just going to finish it by clicking on translate and grab this arrow, and I'm just going to drag it back out there, 10 mils. Okay. I don't need to create copy again because I already created a copy when I did the point-to-point action. Now I'm just translating the copy that's already been created. So I don't want another copy. So, okay. So now you can see I've got axle 1 and axle 2. Now they're actually the same design, but so if I made a change, if I made this one longer, this one also would be longer because they're 2 separate instances of the same axle, which is pretty much what I want. All right. So where are we? Okay, the next, actually, let's save it. Save, and let's call that axles in place. Okay, all right, now talking about axles in place, those axles now, I could actually move. Yuck, let's just Control Z because I don't want to do that. I actually want to put those in place. I want to join them. I want to create a joint between the axle and the chassis. Now the axles and the chassis, they're already in the correct position. So I'm going to use, if we look at assemble here, there are 2 types of joints, a joint or an as-built joint. I'm going to use an as-built joint because they're already in the right position. If they weren't in the right position, I could use joint, and I could, while I create the joint, I could have them move into the right position, but sometimes it's easier just to create them in place and use an as-built joint. So I'm going to do that. So if I look under assemble, as-built joint is Shift J and joint is just J. So I'm going to go Shift J to create an as-built joint. And what you do is you pick the component that sort of like the minor component, the smaller component, because if you're doing a joint, we're doing an as-built joint, so none of them will move. But if we were doing a normal joint, the object you click first will move to the object you click second. So I'm going to click, that's my first joint, and I'm going to then choose that as my second joint. And there's different types of joints. We could do a rigid joint, which would mean there's no motion at all, but I actually want a revolute joint because I want this axle to be able to rotate inside the joint. Okay, which means I've got to collect this. I've got to choose a snap position. In other words, what's the axis of rotation? So I click on select there, let's zoom in, and I want to choose, be careful not to choose the edge, the center of that axle. Okay, and now you can see it's animating. It's showing me that if I click preview motion, you can't see it much because there's no features on the axle, but that axle can rotate inside the joint that we've just created. Okay, so click OK there, and that's a joint there, and you can see that up here. See, joint there. All right, let's look at this one here. Let's do the same thing. So we're going to go Shift J to create a joint. I want to join that axle to that chassis, and so they're selected. I want it to be a revolute joint, and I need to select the axis of rotation, which is that one there, and then I can go OK, and I'm done. So now they're joined. So now I can't grab and move those axles. They're in place, which is good, because if I move this chassis at some stage or I move some other components, these aren't going to go and play up on me. All right, let's see, what else do I need to do? Okay, what I want to do now is I want to put my crown gear in place. So here's my crown gear. So I'm just going to grab my crown gear, and I'm just going to drag and drop it into my design, and it'll automatically put it at the origin of the design. Now, actually, let me just Control Z. Let me show you. I needed to be careful of this. When I put my crown gear in, I want to have my top level design selected so that my crown gear as a component sits directly under the gear, under the top level. So again, it's on the same level as all of these guys. All right, now I'm just going to grab this and move it out here a bit so I can see it a bit better. And I'm just going to go OK. Now, I want to put that crown gear onto that axle. So let's do a joint. I could move it there first and I can do an as-built joint, but let's just try doing a straight old joint. So again, with Gearbox selected up here, I want to now press J, and OK. So component 1, actually gives me component 1 and component 2 now. So component 1 is my this guy here, and in fact, I'm just going to select that point there. Oh, actually, yeah, that's all right. Okay, let me show you again. Okay, so component 1, it's asking for my snap point. So when I select component 1, I'm going to say that center of that hole there is the bit that I want to align with something. So I'm going to click there on that center hole there, and component 2, let me just move around a little bit. I want to snap that point there onto this axle here like that. Okay, and it wants this, let's see. Oh no, it wants the snap point. See how that's white? Oh, actually that looks all right. Let me just do that again. Selected, snap point. There we go, that's got it. So now you can see it's come in here, and let me just have a look at the orientation. Okay, that orientation is incorrect. I want those teeth on the other side, so I can use flip. So it takes a guess and it got it wrong. So I click on flip and now it's right. Okay, and if I want to, I can move, while I'm at it, I can move this up this end a little bit. Now, what kind of joint? I want this to be a revolute joint as well. Okay, so that's good. So I can go okay, and there we go. That's joined in there, and I can now rotate that by hand, just freely, anytime I want. Actually, now that I'm going to just revert back to its original position. Okay, good. Let's save it again. Save. Let's call that crown gear in place. Okay. All right, now I'm ready to put my motor in. So let's do that. Now you've noticed I haven't put a mount for the motor yet. I'm going to build the mount around the motor. So let's get my motor and drag it in like that. Again, it'll put it at the origin here. And I'm just going to move it out of the way so I can see it. Okay. Now, when I've got it in a spot that I can see it, the first thing I want to do is I want to orient it correctly. So that's the bottom of my motor and that's the top with the terminals on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, see these circles? These circles allow you to rotate. So I'm going to grab this top one and rotate. Now I'm going to be careful about how many degrees I rotate it. So if I grab that and I rotate to 90 degrees, you can see there it says 90 degrees. So that's good. Now I also, so that's the bottom's down, so that's good. Now I want that axle there facing this way. So I'm going to grab this handle here. I'm going to rotate it this way by 180 degrees, like that. Okay, and all right, and that'll do me for now. Oh, actually, no, I'll keep going. I'll keep going. Now, what I also want is if I look at the height of the motor, it's not quite at the right height. I want that axle there to be aligned with that axle there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a point-to-point move here. So I'm going to select that center point there. That's my origin point. That center point there, like that. And that's in the way. And that center point there. Okay, I'm actually clicking on the outside of the circle to get the center point, but you can see it's got the center point, so that's good. All right, now you might think, oh, what did that do? That sort of that's aligned. Not so you can see now my orientation is correct, my height is correct. So the other bits to fix now are pretty easy. I can move. Let's see. I'm going to do a translate. So I'm going to grab that there and move that across to here. Let's have a look at the top view, see what that looks like. Okay, and this needs to move back a bit. Now I want that to be about there. Now you know what, I should have put the pinion on first and then I can see where it goes. So you know what, I'll just move this out here a little bit. I'm going to put the pinion on and then I'm going to know exactly where to put it. So we'll leave it there for now because that's lined up. It's got the right orientation, it's got the right height. We'll just fix this other motion in a moment. So, okay. All right. So let's do the pinion. So I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to create a sketch. Well, actually, no, I can't create. I don't want to do a sketch. Ignore that. What I want to do is I want to create a gear. Now, to create a gear, I'm going to use a utility, an add-in. So utilities, add-ins, scripts and add-ins. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to use this spur gear. I'm going to use this bottom one with the Python symbol and I'm going to click on run. And this runs a little script that some helpful person has created, which will do all the hard work to create a gear for us. So my pinion gear has 10 teeth. Let's see, it's got the module is 0.5. Don't do 0.5. It'll give you errors and it'll still work, but just do 0.5 like that. That works better. It's metric, it's got a 20-degree pressure angle, that's good. Backlash 0, that's okay for us. All right, root fillet, down here it's saying that the center hole's too large, which makes sense. So let's fix the center hole, the hole diameter. The hole diameter needs to be 2 millimeters, because that's the width of the axle. The gear thickness is going to be, oh, hang on a minute, I'm just getting my vernier caliper so I can measure the real one, so I can tell you what it is. It's going to be, I think it's 4 millimeters. So it is 4 millimeters. So 4 millimeter gear thickness. Now it's telling us the root radius, the root fillet radius is too large. It's got to be less than 0.29. So let's make it, I don't know, let's make it 0.2 like that. Okay, so that's ready to print. Now, if I was going to 3D print this gear that I'm creating, I'd be much more careful about things like the backlash. I'd add a little bit of backlash, but I'm not. All I'm doing is modeling a gear that already exists. So I'm not going to worry too much. I've got the important things right. So I'm going to go okay, and there it is. So let's come back to solid and move copy. Let's just move it where I can see it. That one there. Oh, I don't want to move the body, I want to move the component. So that component there, let's move it out to here where we can see it. Okay, all right. Now, I want to join that to that. So let's do that. Let's do a J, and select that point there, and I want to select that end there like that. There you go, that's put it in place. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go OK there. Okay, there's a joint. And it's done a revolute joint. It did revolute by before because we've been doing revolute joints. All right, I'm going to take a top view here and let's move this motor into place. So moving a component, moving the motor, and I'm going to move it to there so it meshes nicely with that crown gear. And my back and forth, I guessed that before, but that looks pretty good to me. That's about right. So I'm going to, now that this is in the right position, I'm going to capture position. So capture position means this is its home position. If somebody ever actually, if we accidentally move it, then we can revert it back to its home position. Okay. All right. So that's looking good. Okay, let's save it again. And I'm going to say motor in place. Okay. Terrific. Now, of course, we need a bracket for the motor, but now that we've got everything lined up, can you see what I did was I built the things that need to be lined up together, and then I can build the other components around them. So if I now click like this, what I want to do now is I want to continue to work on the chassis. So at the moment, this gearbox is selected. It's really easy to work on the wrong component. It'll let you do that. So I'm going to come down here to chassis, because now I want to work on my chassis, because I want to build a bracket. I want to extend the chassis so that it's got a bracket for the motor. Okay, so in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the chassis. So right click, and I've activated it already. Now I'm going to isolate it. So now all I can see is my chassis. But I also want to see my hobby motor. So I'm going to make that visible again. Excellent, that's what I want. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to create a sketch. So I'm going to do sketch on the front of the motor there, like that. Okay, and I want to project some of the geometry of that motor into my sketch. So I'm going to do P for project geometry, and I'm going to select some of that geometry. So I want that. So that outline there, I want that outline in my sketch. I don't need the top one. I'm also going to need the bottom one there. So I want to project all of those. So if I go OK, so now if I hide the motor, you can see I've got the outline of the motor. I've got those important points, and I've got that bottom line there also, because I'm going to need them to complete my sketch. So I've projected those into my sketch. Let's just turn the motor back on. We probably don't need it, but let's turn it back on. All right, so now I'm going to do some drawing of my bracket. So I'm going to use offset tool. So I could use O or click on offset here, and I'm going to click on those lines like that, that, and that. Okay, and so this has created a 1mm offset. I'm going to change that to a 3mm offset. And what? Okay, and I'll click OK there. Okay, good. Now I need another line. I just need to, you'll see how this comes together. I want a horizontal line across here. I'm going to hover over that point there. And by hovering, I've told Fusion that that's an important point. So now when I come over here, Fusion will help me to align my starting point with that height. So I click here, and now I can come all the way across to here. In fact, I could go, let's come all the way across to here like that. Okay, and escape. And so that's created the top line for my bracket. And if I want to be pedantic, I could trim it. I could trim that edge there and trim that edge there. Didn't need to do that. Well, it's blue. So I'm going to dimension. I'm going to put a dimension between there and say there. So I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to change the dimension. Press enter. Now, because I've put that dimension in there, that line is fixed, which is good. All right, now I want to, so that's, now I want a rectangle underneath it. A rectangle between there, and I'm going to hover over this point here so that I can come down and finish my rectangle here on that line. That's the reason I projected that line down the bottom, so that it would snap to it. Okay, like that. Okay, now I'm ready to extrude. So now I press E for extrude, and I want to extrude that section there and that section there. And now I can, if I hide my hobby motor, you can see that those parts are now in my sketch. All right, so I want this to be I do want this to be a new body. So I'm going to go, and how far do I want to extrude? Let's just use my view cube so I can see what's going on here. Pull that back. Actually, let's put the motor back on so I can see the motor. How far do I want to come back? I want to come back to about, well, you know what? I'm going to come to 19 millimeters. You know why I'm going to do that? Because the front of my motor is curved. So I actually want to start my bracket back a little bit. So if I come up here and I want the start of my extrusion not to be the profile plane, but I want an offset. So see where that is at the moment. If I put an offset of 1, oh, it's gone forward. Okay, I'll make it -1, -1. So that starts my bracket just a little bit back. So, and it's 19 millimeters long, so it's going to be, that's nice. Okay, so I'll go okay, and there's my bracket. And so now if I come back, if I unisolate my chassis so I can see everything, unisolate, and activate my top level component and see what I've built so far. Okay, there's my bracket. Now my bracket's floating in space. So all I need to do now is create another extrusion down the bottom here, which will join all of that together. So you can see my chassis at the moment has got 2 bodies in it, that body and that body. All right, so again, now I want to work on my chassis, so I'm activating my chassis. Don't forget that. I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to use the bottom of this section here, and my sketch, let's do a sketch. Let's use a rectangle from that point there to, I don't know, let's go about here. In fact, it's 3 millimeters deep, which is already correct. If I go tab, I can change that other. I'm going to make that 35, like that, and then hit enter, and that's created a little rectangle there. All right, now I'm going to extrude that rectangle. So E for extrude, and it's just so I can see what's going on. Move it around a bit. That's the profile I want to extrude. Let's drag it out. Now I could line that up by eye, or I could just go, you know what, instead of doing a distance, we're going to extrude it to an object. And I'm going to click on that face there, and that'll automatically line it up. Okay, and it's a join. I don't want a new body or a new component. I want it to be a join. Now it's joined all that together. You can see now my chassis is back to having 1 body. All right, so that's looking pretty good, I think. All right, so my chassis now is ready to 3D print. So if all you wanted to do, actually, no, we can tidy it up. We're going to do a little bit of tidying up. I'm going to put some fillets on the corners. Fillets are, 1, they look good, but 2, they'll make your object stronger. Let's do these ones first. So what I'm going to do, I just clicked on the fillet tool there, and I'm going to click on that. Just, you might want to zoom in on that edge there. So all these corners that I want to be round corners instead of, I'm going to do that. Let's come into this one here. And I think maybe that one there and that one there, and why not this one here, and make them all, let's make them all, let's see what 5 looks like. Yeah, 5 looks pretty good. I like that. Let's have a look around the place. 5, okay. So, oh, I should have done that one as well. Okay, never mind. What I can do, if I go okay, if I go plus, I can add that one there, and I'll make that one 5 as well. That looks good. Okay. Actually, I don't want to do okay yet. I'm going to do plus. I'm going to do some more fillets. This one here, that corner there. Now these ones here, these ones will actually be stronger if I put a fillet in. I'm going to put about a 3 millimeter fillet in there. And let's do these ones here as well. Okay, so plus, so that one there and that one there. And let's go around the other side, and let's do that one there and that one there. And we're going to put, let's see what 3 millimeters looks like there. That looks pretty reasonable, doesn't it? Yeah, that's pretty nice. Okay, so, okay. All right, so now if I come home, All right, now my chassis is ready for 3D printing. So let's save. Save. Chassis ready to print. Good. All right, now we're going to do the compound gears. We're going to put the compound gears on here. So we've got to create a compound gear. So again, making sure that my top level component is selected. I'm going to create, well, actually, I'm not going to create a new component. The script will create a component for us. So I'm going to go to Utilities, Add-ins, Scripts and Add-ins, and let's come down to spur gear, the bottom one, the Python one, not the C++ one, and we'll run. And okay, so this time it's remembered the settings from last time, so they're all good. Number of teeth. Now my compound gear, I said before, has 50 teeth, so I'm going to put 50 there. And again, because I'm not actually building this, I'm not 3D printing, you couldn't actually print a 0.5 modulus gear with a normal 3D printer. It's not fine enough granularity. If I'm going to 3D print gears, I'll usually use a modulus 2. But so I don't care too much about all these little details. Thickness, I do care about that. The gears that I'm trying to model are 1.5 millimeters thick, and the hole diameter is 2 millimeters. Again, it'll be 2.05 if it's a B gear, and it'll be 1.95 if it's an A gear, a tight fitting gear, but I'm just going to leave them all as 2. Okay, because I don't have to 3D print these, I'm just modeling them so that they appear right in the model. Okay, and that should create us, where did it, there we go, it put it at the axis again, which is what it always does. All right, so now let's just move that so I can see what's going on. So let's go solid, move, and click on that object there, move the whole component, that's good. And I'm going to move that up here. Okay, don't want to capture the position yet because it's not in its final position. Okay, now that's just a normal gear. That's a spur gear. I want to make a compound gear. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make that there. Actually, I'm going to start to rename a few things here. That was my motor pinion there. That's that gear there. So let's call that. That was the motor pinion. So let's name that. Okay, crown gear, that's pretty good. Spur gear, okay, that's pretty reasonable. Eventually we'll name that as the compound gear. Okay, I'm going to select that and highlight it because what I want to do is I want to put my next gear sort of inside that because they're going to become one part. So when I do let's go Utilities, Add-ins, Scripts and Add-ins, and I want to come down to spur gear again. This time I want a 10 tooth, so the small gear on my compound gear has got 10 teeth, and it is, oh, let me just measure that. I did measure it before, but I can't remember. I think it might also be 4 millimeters. I'll just talk amongst yourselves while I measure this. Okay, my trusty vernier caliper says 4 millimeters. So it's got to be 4 millimeters. That's right, 4 millimeter thick, 4 millimeters there. Okay, and that's going to be okay. So I'll click OK there, and again, it's put it down here at the axis. So let's see, there's my spur gear. Let's move that to where we can see it. Okay, now we need to sort of connect these two together, don't they? So what I want to do a join. So again, if I'm going to join those two, I'm going to come up here to the top level, and I'm going to do J for join, and I'm going to join, I think I want to join, let's see, it's coming underneath that one. Okay, so I want to join that there to the top of that one there, like that. Okay, that's got it. All right, now that's not a revolute joint. I want that to be fixed, so rigid. You like how it animates rigid like that? Okay, so they're stuck together, which is good because they're actually one body. Okay, all right, good. That'll do us. If we wanted to be really pedantic, there's a little ridge that goes under there, but I'm not going to worry about that. So there's our compound gear. And in fact, what we could do at the moment, you can see, let's see, oh, it's put them on the same level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that spur gear there and I'm going to put it inside that one there. Oh, you know what? I'm going to capture position. Yeah, all right. Not too worried about that. We're going to move it again anyway later. Okay, so I've put that inside. So I've put the, so now we have the small gear is inside the big gear because I want them to sort of appear as one. But I also want to, I'm going to merge those bodies. So that body there and that body there, I want to merge them. So let's just select there and there. Select those, oh, hang on, there and there. Holding down Control, select both of those bodies. And I want to use this combine. So if I click on combine, target body, tool body, they're already selected because I selected them beforehand. I want to join them. I don't want to make a new component, and I don't want to keep the tools. Keep the tools means I'd be left with the originals and the combined. So I'd have 2 copies of everything. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to click OK. Okay, so now you can see under all of this, there's just the one body there. There's no body under this one here. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're nearly there. Now all we've got to do is create multiple copies of them and join them onto there. So let's do some copies. Let's do create copy. So there's one, and okay, and let's create another copy. There's another one. How many of these we need? 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to do 5 of these. Okay, another copy. There's probably an easier way of doing this actually, but never mind. This will work. Oh, that was wrong. Okay, create a copy. Make sure I'm copying the whole components, not just the bodies. Okay. Oh, did I just? Yeah, I just created another copy. Another copy. Create a copy. Let's put that one over there. Good. Okay, so I've got all the gears that I need. You can see it's put them all here. Now again, that's multiple instances. So if I make a change, for instance, let's just rename this. Instead of calling it spur gear, let's call it, well, it's going to be 50 teeth, 10 teeth, 50, 10, 2 is the axle diameter, and let's just say B for loose fit. Compound gear. Okay, so when I change that name, see they all changed because they're all actually the same component, they're just different instances, but we're going to put them in different places. So let's just do, there's a whole bunch of joins here. So so I'm going to again make sure my gearbox, my top level component is selected. I'm going to use J for a join, and I'm going to start to join some stuff up. So I guess my first gear, well actually I'll put some gears here. So that top section there, I want to connect that to that axle like that. Okay, that's good. And while I'm here, you know what, I might just put it, let me zoom out a little bit, zoom in a bit so that I've got more granularity in my move. Let's put it there. Okay, and we'll go okay, and let's just do the same for the others. You know what, in the video I might make this fast motion. Let's just do another one. J, that one there, on that one there. There it goes. Oh, that's gone the wrong way, so I'll flip it. Okay, and then I'll have a look from top view, and oh no, it was the right way, so I'll flip it again. Okay, good. Now zooming in, I'm going to move it back to about there and click OK. All right, next one. Actually, that's 3 on this axle. Now I need the 3 on the other axle. So J again to create another joint. Oh, you know what I've done? Hang on, I'll fix this in a minute. I've created these joints, the wrong kind of joint. So I'm going to double click on them. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to come back in my timeline. Come back in my timeline here. They're the joints that I just created. So that joint there, if I double click on it, I'm going to change it, the motion. I don't want it to be rigid, I want it to be revolute. Okay, good. Okay, same with this one here. So if I come back to this one here, double click, motion, I want that to be revolute as well. Okay, there's a rigid one in there. What's that? Oh, that's the rigid joint between, yeah, there's a rigid joint in there. That's good. Okay, but the joints between my gears and my compound gears and my axles need to be revolute joints. So I think I got that right. Let's just check the joints. Revolute. So compound gear and axle is a revolute. Compound gear and axle. That's good. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So I can see my revolute joints and they're all good. Okay. All right. So let's continue with these joints here. So J, I want that there to be lined up with that axle there. And what have I done there? Let's try again. Okay, oh, and it's decided to put it all the way over here this time. So I'll grab that and move it in. Let's go from the top view. Okay, that orientation is correct, so I don't need to flip it. And that one will come into here. If only it was this easy to assemble them in real life. Okay, so, okay. Did I do another? I made another rigid joint. Never mind, I can double click on the joint here, or right click and edit the joint. That needed to be revolute again. Okay, good. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, J again. J there. And on to that one there. Sometimes that doesn't work. I don't know why. Let's try that again. J, that, and that, and there. Okay, that's worked. I'm not sure why it needs 3 clicks. If you work out, you might be able to tell me. That needs to be flipped. Oh no, it doesn't. That was already correct. So again, from the top view, I'll come in and line that up. Zoom in a bit further so I get a bit more granularity with my moving. Okay, good. All right, we're nearly there. This one here, that's a K, J, and that one there, that one there. Let's try again there. Okay, and I did another rigid joint, revolute, and let's move it to back to there. Top view, zoom in. Okay, that looks good. I think the only thing I did, yeah, I've still got one joint that I did rigid, so let me edit that joint there. Let's go okay here first. Edit that joint there, and that should be a revolute joint. Okay, so there we go. I think we're done. Oh, hey, let's save it. I'm going to show you one more thing. Save. Let's see. Gears in place. All right. Only one more thing I'm going to do, and that is I'm just going to tidy a few things up. See how my joints are all visible? So I'm just going to come over here and fix that a little bit. So I'm going to hide my joints like that. Don't really want to see them. Or there are some other joints in there as well. So I've probably got some joints. Maybe I've got some joints under the chassis level. No? There are joints in here. Okay, so I'll just turn those joints off. Did that turn them all off? Yes, it did. Good. There's still more joints somewhere. Let me see if I can find them. I know there are some sketches that are visible. Okay, so let's come in here, turn those sketches off. Good. And turn those sketches off. Okay. And I've got another sketch there. So you can see there are some things that are visible here, and I'm just turning the visibility off. So that pinion gear, the motor pinion, seems to have a sketch visible. Okay, so I think that's good. Okay, so I've hidden everything that I need to hide. And all right, let's just change the appearance. So A for appearance, press A on your keyboard. And now I can start to change the appearance of some of this stuff. So my gears are actually nylon gears. So I'm going to look for nylon, and there's nylon. So it's white nylon. I'm going to put nylon up here in my palette. Now I'm going to drag nylon onto my gears. And you notice I put it on one. And if one's made of nylon, the whole lot of them are, because remember, they're the same object, the same component, just multiple instances. My crown gear, that's nylon. My pinion gear is nylon. Now, what else? These are stainless steel. So let's see if we can find stainless steel. There we go, stainless steel. Polished stainless steel, that'll do. So I'll drag that up here. So I want them to be polished stainless steel. And it's done them both. Fantastic. Now my motor, the guy that I got my motor from, he's already put colour on his, so I'll just leave that as is. Now this guy here, you know what? I'm going to make it out of PLA. But is there PLA? There's no PLA. But, oh, is there? Plastic. There's all sorts of plastics and stuff. Well, let's just use a plastic. Grey. You know what? I'm going to use ABS. That's what I usually do. I use ABS because ABS looks like PLA. They're both 3D printing plastics, but it's not white. At the moment, my 3D printer's got blue in it. So I'm going to right click and edit that. I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make the color about like that. Done. Okay, so I'm going to make that blue. Okay. So there we go. So that's a pretty good representation, a pretty good technical model of our gearbox, and we can 3D print. So let me just save that. I'm going to say that's finished. Actually, I shouldn't say finished. I should just say appearance. Done. Okay. I'm not going to say finished because I might add some more stuff onto it later. I don't know. So I don't ever say it's finished. One more thing, how to 3D print. Okay, to 3D print, what we do is we come to utilities and we go make and 3D print. Now, we're going to use the STL format. That's usually what you do, STL binary. Select. Now you're going to 3D print an object, so or a body. So the body we're going to 3D print. I think we can just select like that. So we can select it there, or we could come into, see the dotted lines there? That means what I've selected. It helps me find in the tree. Bodies, there it is. So I could have, if I wanted to, if I get rid of that selection, I could have selected it here if I want as well. In fact, while I'm here, let me just change that. I'm going to call that the chassis body. So just put it chassis. So the component's called a chassis and the body's called a chassis. Oh, I didn't like that, did it? Let me change that again. Chassis. Okay. All right. And sorry, I accidentally closed it. So let's go to make again, 3D print, select the chassis like that. And we're going to, now there's two things you can do. If you've got your slicer installed on your computer, I have, you can click that and it will automatically open Cura and put the body into the slicer. But probably at school you're not going to have the printer installed on your computer. So what you need to do is just untick that box, click OK, and because the body was called chassis, the file is now called chassis, it's going to create a chassis.stl file. And it's going to put it, if you click on save to my computer, like that, so that you can, and you can browse and put it wherever you want. Mine's going in downloads. Export it to an STL file. It will do that. And you can take that to your slicer and slice it and 3D print it. All right, that was a long video, but I think it was worthwhile. Hopefully it's useful. That's the end.